Notre Dame at home versus USC. I struggle with this game a lot. I'm going to go ahead and say that I am taking Notre Dame to win, and I'm taking the points -2.5. But that also feels ridiculous to me. Going against Caleb Williams, especially like with Notre Dame offense that is struggling the way it is, and there is a better coaching staff. Well, a better offensive coaching staff in the Southern Cal coaching room there. But man, Notre Dame's defense has been pretty good. If they can just, you know, find ways to just stop Caleb Williams when it matters, which goodness, that is not an easy task. But if they just choose to run the ball and then run the ball, this USC team can't tackle. They literally they choose not to do it. And over again, I keep thinking like maybe because A&M had tackling problems earlier in the season. And it kind of looks like, they're playing still like pretty aggressive now. And it's like it's kind of gotten better-ish. Like you're kind of like, oh, maybe that was just like an outlier. It is every week, in and out, every week, this USC team. Almost one possession game with Arizona, one possession game with Colorado, one possession game with Arizona State, back to back to back weeks. Now, we talked about schedule dynamics with Notre Dame. They've played a lot of tough games, recently. But in the same facet, USC has also played some really tough games for them, like in like one possession gritty games. So the last 3 weeks, I don't think the schedule dynamic benefits USC in this case because they've also played some tough games that has relied heavily on their offense. A lot of plays being run. I mean, just so I kind of grit my teeth when I take Notre Dame and Notre Dame -2.5, but here we are. They're at home. This is a big game. They both kind of need this one. Give me the Fighting Irish.
If you told me at the beginning of this year, because I was pretty high on USC, I was hoping that they were going to fix at least half of their mistakes on defense or, a quarter of them, and they'd still be much improved with an elite offense. Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, you don't even need to elaborate on that. If you told me you were going to give me +2.5 with USC, right? I mean, the game, yes, it's at Notre Dame. I get that. But I'm going to take USC to win this game, and I don't like it at all. I picked against Notre Dame last week for the schedule dynamics issue. I think it's going to be hard to ask that defense to get up for one more time, 4 straight weeks in a row, right? And they played their hearts out against Ohio State. They played their hearts out against Duke, right? And they played the best they could against Louisville until it kind of got away from them in the second half there. And you're sitting after those 3 games and you're 1-2. And I know it, like we've been on football teams that with a defense that's carrying an offense, they get frustrated after a while. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying Marcus Williams is going to let that happen, but I do know that takes into account. And the problem is if USC jumps on Notre Dame early, boom, they're going to throw away that running game out. And I would beg them not to, right? As if you're rooting for Notre Dame, because it doesn't matter if you're down by 14 points, 70 points, your best chance of moving the football. I mean, you can do it a lot of ways, but like for Notre Dame specifically, it's to run the football against this USC team. The interesting part is you look back at that Arizona game, Arizona kind of jumped on USC and they had a positive game script all game, right? It wasn't that they were down big. And we talked about that with the USC and Colorado game 2 weeks ago in terms of USC blowing that big lead, whatever. I didn't really factor that in too much. I think in the fourth quarter of a blowout game, your defense is going to be playing prevent and whatever else. Now, it was way too easy for Colorado to score regardless, so I don't take that too much into consideration. I do think if Notre Dame stays in the football game in the first half, I do think they will grind it out and get a win against USC. But also, like, it's just so hard to pick against Caleb Williams. When, like, I like Sam Hartman, I really do. But when the quarterback gap is just that big, it's like, if you need one drive to go in this football game, which Vegas is telling you that it's going to be a close one-score game, I think with Caleb Williams, the ball in his hands, I do not see Notre Dame stopping him. I really don't with those weapons. And also, on the other hand, like Arizona and Colorado have the weapons offensively to take advantage of USC's defense. And now, yes, Notre Dame's got some good pieces, good running backs, great tight ends. I'm still not convinced on their wide receiver position. Like, how are they really going to expose this USC defense like Arizona and like Colorado did the past 2 weeks.
Okay, so I Caleb Williams, I'm not gonna say like was overrated, right? That's not what I'm gonna be saying with this. But if you're looking at the defense that they've played up to this point, we can talk about San Jose State, not necessarily elite. Nevada, not necessarily elite. Stanford, not necessarily elite. Arizona State, not necessarily elite. Colorado, not necessarily elite. Arizona, not necessarily elite. So what happens? Like, are they going to be able to make adjustments, very quickly? Like, if things go wrong offensively, my answer to that is they probably will, but I think this just might be a case where, in my eyes, I think if Notre Dame just sticks to running the football, man, like they just did not do last week. Granted, Louisville did some good things in the run defense. They just didn't even try, though, to run the ball. They run the ball early. Audric Estime should get the first touch of the game for Notre Dame. The fact that he didn't get the ball until like 43 seconds left in the first quarter is ridiculous. And that was, goodness gracious, just give him the ball, right? Just give him the ball. Let him wear down this defense. Keep the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands. There's a way to win this, Marcus Freeman. You just got to do it, man. You just got to do it.
Does this bring Notre Dame back in the playoff condition?
No.
The playoff comp? No.
Nope,
You think they're out?
I think they're out. There's nothing that they can do. I don't think that can put them back in.
The problem is 2 losses, no conference championship in a year where you have depth at the top of college football, where you have 8 to 10 teams that are all going to be having a case to make their college football playoffs. And Notre Dame not having that 13th game on their schedule is really going to bite them. And we'll see if it forces them to join a conference, right? I'm sure the ACC will be pointing that out to them for sure. But
yeah, now I do think, this is wild to say, but I do think if they win this game, if Louisville drops one to Miami, right, then and they go on to win the ACC championship, Louisville could get in at 11-1, possibly, or 12-1, I guess, if you win the conference championship, possibly. If Notre Dame wins this and stays strong, and this win keeps looking better and better for them. So this has an impact on other teams as well, not necessarily in Pac-12 standings or ACC standings or whatever, but for the college football playoff picture, this game has a lot of implications in that area, not just on these two teams.
Yeah, strength of schedule, especially when there's a very subjective viewpoint of making decisions. It's going to be what happens. I will say in terms of, I guess this is probably a reason why I wouldn't pick USC, even though I did. Going on the road, especially traveling across 2 time zones, is not easy. It's not easy at all. USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, they're all going to find that out, on a week-to-week basis when they're going to travel to Rutgers and all those other Big Ten schools. But it's not easy. We saw Cal host Auburn. Auburn came in and came out super flat, right? We've seen teams travel across the country and really struggle at times. But it's just hard to pick against Caleb Williams. I just think he's too good. And I know the defense Notre Dame has is much better than anything else he's ever seen. This is also college football, though. When we talked about it with Ohio State last year, we talked about it a lot. Like, elite offenses are just way better than elite defenses. Like, Notre Dame has a really good defense. But if USC just shows up and plays to the best of their capability on offense, they will put up 40 points pretty easily. And yes, Notre Dame shut down Marvin Harrison Jr., but Kyle McCord is not Caleb Williams. And that offense didn't do much against Maryland for 3 quarters. So we'll see here. But
again, Indiana?
A lot of other instances there. But yeah, this USC Notre Dame game, it's awesome. Very, very awesome. Glad for college football that this game happens as frequently as it does, especially with both these teams playing pretty good football up this year so far.